Hello YouTube, it's Old World Tales here, and we're back with part 2 of the Ramshorns Fantasy Fiction, a story set in the Warhammer universe. If you haven't checked out part 1, please do. It's got a great little battle sequence in it. And here we go, let's get stuck in. Huron and the Freemen arrived back to Sheepshaven shortly after securing Kasos and putting out the fires. He had left Sergeant Volk behind with a handful of men to coordinate the townspeople in a clean-up. He left his horse with a stable hand and brought the boy to a log-built structure adjacent to the gatehouse. Gisela, are you in? He roared. A tall Bretonnian woman appeared in the doorway moments later. She had long, jet-black hair to her waist and was wearing a demi-armoured jacket top and puffy linen pants secured at the ankles. What in the name of the lady are you shouting at my house for? She retorted in a full confrontational tone. The boy thought she was both terrifying and alluring all at once. I have brought you a new recruit. You should be happy. She turned and gazed at the boy. The last batch you brought me ended up as dinner for a herd of razorgores. Now you come back to rub salt in the wound by bringing me a child. Boy, what is your name? She boomed. Iphicrates, the boy stuttered. Gisela, for Sigmar's sake, be gentle with him. He's from Kasos, and he will be our guest here for the next while. I want you to find him quarters, get him some clean clothes, and find some jobs for him to do. Huron leaned to the side and whispered into Iphicrates' ear. Don't mind her, lad. She is one of the good ones, and she will take care of you. He put a hand on the child's back and gently pushed him forward. Head into the house, lad, and get some rest. I need to talk to Gisela. Iphicrates walked to the log house, turning and peering back over his shoulder at Huron as he walked. Then he disappeared into the house. Gisela moved closer to Huron so as the boy could not hear them. His parents were slain in front of him, Gisela. It was greenskins then. Yes, Blueface tribe. They killed half of the population. The place is in bits, it's defenseless. I have Volk on clean-up duty. We need to place a permanent garrison there and build defences. Captain, we don't just have that many men sitting around waiting to be deployed on babysitting duty. The third company hasn't returned from our mission yet. Huron pondered for a second before responding. Give me new recruits then. They will benefit from the experience and will help us secure the town. I will post a few of our best among them to make sure that they will stay firm. I will do that as soon as the boy's settled in. Make sure he's looked after, Gisela, but I don't want him to receive any special treatment. The evening came and night took over, casting darkness across the old world. Volk and the people of Kasos had just finished erecting the rudimentary barricade of overturned carts and building debris when the reinforcements of ram's horns arrived from Sheepshaven. A block of pikes and a small group of veteran ram's horn swordsmen made up the group, as well as one of the company's engineers. Volk set the men on guard duty, assisted by some eager locals, who turned up with bows or crossbows to help the soldiers. To the south of the town, directly across the fields of barley, and amongst the tree line, a vicious threat sat and watched, grinning and clenching its sharp incisors together. Its small, ugly form was covered in a long black robe, and atop its head was a pointed hat with a peak that hung off to one side. A long, pointy nose jutted out of its mean face. The evil little form reached into a small pocket with a long, gnarly dark green hand and produced from it a speckled mushroom, proceeding to pop it into its mouth. With a clawed finger, it pointed out and counted the number of soldiers as they were dispersing around to guard the town. Sneergit cackled quietly to himself when he realized he had enough boys to take the town. His gobbles would finish what those stupid orcs couldn't, and he would prove he was the hardest and cleverest git in the clan. He sat still for now, grinning away as the shroom brew continued to make him tingle and spin. Euron had spent a few hours in the tavern, doing the rounds and chatting to his men, as well as merchants who had stopped off at the mercenary camp for the night. He had heard from a merchant from Altdorf that a number of nobles from Reichland had been outed as vampires and put to the stake. He said that they were all women, and the merchant had heard from a guard captain he bribed that they were a coven of Lamian vampiresses who had infiltrated and turned noble ladies from prominent houses. The merchant thought this lies, concocted by one family to discredit another, to gain advantage at court or in business. But Huron knew differently. He had encountered the undead countless times, and he knew that the Lamians were amongst the most dangerous and insidious of the nobility of the night. He had finished his 7th ale and returned to the central keep. Sheep's Haven was a permanent mercenary camp, ringed by a palisade made up of tents, as well as more substantial structures made of logs. At its centre was a modern bailey. Huron and all of the officers, as well as higher-ranking specialists, all lived in the central bailey and its adjacent buildings. The modern bailey was centuries old and was long abandoned when the Ramshorns established their camp around it. Now it was the anchor of their operation. Huron reached his lodging, a solid 2-roomed stone building. Entering, he lit a lantern hanging from a central beam. The low orange light revealed quite a cosy dwelling. There was no ceiling. Instead, the wooden beams of the apex rafters were visible. On the floor were flagstones, rounded and polished by the treads of time. The first room was tidy. Its walls had mounted on them many weapons and pieces of armour. The furniture was all of carved wood, varnished and further darkened by age. A long bench, a table, 2 chairs, and a small desk in the corner. Huron removed his plate and plonked the heavy, battle-dirtied pieces onto the table. His greatsword, which he had left at the entrance, he placed in its horizontal rack above the same door. Kicking off his wyvern leather boots, he moved his tired and bruised body into the second room, through a partitioning curtain. This room was covered from floor to rafters in skins and furs. Most were sheep's wool, but among them were bear, lion, wyvern, and razor gore. The bed was a sea of chamois and lamb's wool throws. Huron plonked himself down onto this cumulus of comfort and dragged his legs onto the bed. He sprawled out and made himself comfortable. As soon as Huron, Strategos of the Ram's Horns, and captain of the first company's head hit the pillow, he was already asleep.